How's your beauty? Rates have been abolished. Look, missus, rates have been abolished. Isn't that marvellous? Great.
So, you've got that little bit of extra money. But have you ever stopped to think just what this could mean?
No.
Glasgow District Council depends on rates, as well as aid from central government, to maintain the quantity and quality of services it is so easy to take for granted. Without this money, these are just some of the many services provided by the District Council, which we take for granted, and which are threatened by the reduction in rate support grant received from the government. Let's see just what's happening. The rate support grant, which is cash given to the council by central government to help pay for its chief services, based on the city's needs, has been cut in real terms from 40.5 million in 1980 to 31.5 million in 1985. But this is only the beginning. Let's start with housing. Glasgow District Council has the largest housing responsibility in Western Europe, with 174,000 council houses to look after, about 60% of the city's entire stock. The emphasis is on modernisation and refurbishment, rather than building new property. The department makes the best possible use of its existing stock of property, modernising and making habitable property previously up for demolition. More could certainly be done.
When I put water down the small sink, it comes up the large sink.
Repairs to council houses are not being done as regularly as they should be, the frequency restricted by lack of finance. Unfortunately, this situation is worsening by the government's decision to cut back the housing support grant. The government has pressurised the council to increase rents drastically. The housing support grant, given to help meet housing needs, has been cut in real terms from 69 million in 1980 to 24.8 million in 1985. In addition, over these last 5 years, the government has fined the city 33 million for contributing more to the housing account from the rates than they thought necessary. Furthermore, they have now made it illegal for the council to contribute more than 26.5 million this year. The only other source of income from this budget, which pays for the management and maintenance of council houses, is rents. These rose by 84% between 1980 and April 1984, when the council imposed a rents freeze. The council has protected tenants with an average £1 per week rent increase for 1985-86, compared with the minimum £2.25, which would have been necessary if it had gone along with government policy. Meanwhile, permission to spend on major repairs to council houses has been cut to the point where the council could be a major slum landlord within 5 years. Spending consent for 1985-86 will be 54 million, compared with the 86 million necessary to fulfill the council's legal duty to keep houses safe, windproof and watertight, and the total of 193 million needed to carry out a realistic programme of work. A large slice of the housing budget goes to private tenants in the form of improvement grants to modernise and improve their property. Bowman Road on the south side of the city is an example of the kind of home improvement going on throughout the city. The common repair schemes in operation in the Ibrox area show what can be done to modernise property internally. The work going on has an important effect on the restoration of community spirit and atmosphere, particularly in the east end of the city. The amount the council can spend on private sector improvements has again been drastically cut, from 80 million last year to 37.5 million this year. Building employers estimate that as many as 4,000 jobs will be lost as a consequence, and the city's programme of maintaining rundown areas, which is the envy of Europe, will be cut to the bone. Cuts in the housing budget in general means that there is now doubt about new housing projects being started in 1984-1985, in either the public or the private sector. These areas of housing are where most of the money goes. But housing encompasses a much wider range of other functions, from sheltered accommodation and catering for the homeless to housing cooperatives, where the emphasis is placed on the occupier of the property to participate in the running of his home in his particular area. The council cares about its very oldest residents too, meaning old property, many of which have slipped into disrepair since they were built. Through joint schemes with the owners of the property and the Historic Buildings Council, the department is able to carry out comprehensive restoration work. Buckingham Terrace in the West End of Glasgow won the 1975 European Architectural Heritage Award as a result of its preservation and conservation. Consistent work of this kind has continued, especially in the West End and on the south side of the city, not only preserving the city's identity and architectural heritage, but also creating employment opportunities which would otherwise not exist.
What a difference this makes to the city's image, and all for £200,000. It'd be a terrible shame if it was only half finished, wouldn't it?
And it's typical of the many departments of the District Council, including planning, that they regularly hold meetings to find out from you what you feel your area needs. And they also organise exhibitions to show us all what they're working on or planning to do.
Yeah, I like to know what's going on and what they're doing with my money.
The work of the planning department also brings economic benefits to the city. Existing buildings are being refurbished into flats, in conjunction with the housing department, and also into restaurants and shops. And this is usually much less expensive than demolition and rebuilding. The planners of the city can't afford to waste any money, especially since now, more than ever before, they're being forced to make many cutbacks. And then there's cleansing. Who else would control our litter, empty our bins, sweep the streets of our city, and keep your landscapes free of waste?
I'll tell you something else I didn't know. There's 107 public toilets in this city. And who do you think's responsible for keeping them clean? That's right, the council.
And not only this, but they're involved in an extensive modernisation and replacement programme to improve this very essential service. That must be better for all of us, and it's good for our visitors. But this is only the tip of a very large iceberg. An iceberg very few ratepayers know anything about. And let's face it, who wants to know what happens to their rubbish after it disappears from their front door? But a complex and highly organised procedure follows, and it takes place in all weathers throughout the year. To keep us from worrying about such matters requires tremendous organisation and scheduling by the cleansing department, who are constantly looking for ways to improve the quality of the service and its cost-effectiveness, particularly in the light of cutbacks in finance. The department's community cleansing programme is a result of this.
Just another service I didn't know about. Not the gardening. The skip, I just phoned the council and they sent one over on the same day. And what's more, it's free. Doesn't cost you a thing. It all comes out of the rates.
The council's individual skip service deals with up to 70 requests a week in the high season and is supplemented by a designated skip service, where skips are placed in particular areas for particular times according to demand. This service benefits the ratepayer, it is carried out with a minimum of labour and so saves money. And he's free to use the service how and when he wishes. All this helps to improve the appearance of the city both externally and internally, and makes Glasgow a healthier and more pleasant place to live. It might surprise you to know that the department is Western Europe's largest, which enables it to clear away all the domestic rubbish and waste from hotels, schools, shops, factories and industrial estates. Who else would provide such a basic and essential service? And it's only made possible through your rates.
It's not a very pleasant job, is it? But it's one that's necessary, and it's all part of the District Council service. And I'll tell you something else, it's free.
The Environmental Health Department responds to around 14,000 calls a year from panicky ratepayers requiring assistance to rid them of a range of insect infestations, wasps' nests, rats and mice. a service which is well used, but which is only one aspect of the protection which the department provides. Believe it or not, 30 years ago it was sometimes very difficult to see across the street in our city because of all the smog. Nowadays, one would think the air had always been clean. This is one of the department's major achievements, and it has reached a stage where it now takes only a degree of monitoring at a minimum cost. Glasgow is a much healthier place to live due to the concentrated efforts of this department, financed through your rates.
I remember when this used to be a slum area. Glasgow District Council have changed all that. They're making Glasgow a better place to live in, and I'm delighted about it.
Could I also mention the larger drum over here? Yes. There's a cap missing from the top, if you could have that.
Through education and the public's increased awareness of the environment in which they live, the department's job is made easier. Inspecting for health and safety at work in 14,000 premises. And inspection of 6,000 food premises on our behalf. What's more, a high level of investigation into how best to control and combat all aspects of pollution means that we, the ratepayers, can rest assured about the safety of our environment at work and at play.
I have to be honest, I hadn't a clue who looked after these. They're just there, and they work. Another aspect of the council's work that I took for granted. I think they're trying to tell me something. I'm disappearing fast.
We want to keep Glasgow City as a place where people choose to live. We want to carry on improving our physical environment, but without sufficient money we cannot. And now that the government are drastically cutting the rate support, we have only two options. Either to cut some of these necessary services, and in the process make even more people redundant, or to find the additional money needed from the rates. So much for essential services. But what about leisure and entertainment? The District Council look after this too. The Parks and Recreation Department are kept very busy throughout the year, maintaining 70 parks, including the 121 acres of Pollock Country Park in the heart of the city. Work which is bringing a positive return for the people of Glasgow in terms of their own enjoyment of the park with its livestock and horticultural attractions, as well as bringing visitors to the city. The greenery of Glasgow does much to enhance Glasgow's image in the rest of Britain and abroad.
It's great to think that you can move about of your own free will without anybody hassling you. And it's marvellous to know that we've got this right in our own doorstep, even in the middle of the city. There's nothing worse than a load of dirty old factories and nowhere to go on a nice summer's night. I think we've got a great deal to be thankful for in Glasgow. Oh, that's lovely. Not bad, eh? All due to the lessons I took at Bella Houston Sports Centre.
In addition to maintaining 7 golf courses and providing training courses or lessons for most other sports and pastimes, the department also looks after 7 indoor sports centres, 2 outdoor sports complexes, and a huge variety of other recreational facilities for you to enjoy. Swimming pools, bowling greens, tennis courts, football and rugby pitches, to mention but a few. Such a huge variety of facilities require tremendous organisation. Organisation exemplified by the annual Glasgow Marathon, and the reason why Glasgow is attractive as a venue for major events, sporting or otherwise.
It's just occurred to me that in this department they look after you no matter what age you are. From when you're very young to not so young like me, or when you're 240 like them over there. I think I better chuck this jogging and I'll be joining them over there. There's the Kelvin Hall, the Mitchell Theatre, and this lovely theatre here, the King's Theatre, all run by the District Council, not to mention the 22 public halls that they look after as well. All here in your own city for your enjoyment. It's marvellous, isn't it?
Through the provision of 44 libraries and even a mobile library, more leisure time is catered for, both for young and old.
Oh, the comics work's never done. Mind you, this is a lot easier than jogging. And I'm learning something as well.
Glasgow's Transport Museum is just one of the many of the city's treasure houses, maintained and controlled by the Council's Museums and Art Galleries Department. It's important to be aware of our heritage. You are part of the city which keeps the finest paintings, tapestries and stained glass. And if you don't care about these things, visitors certainly do. And the money which tourism attracts helps Glasgow as a city. Who would maintain and run these other than the District Council? Had you any real idea just what your rates enabled Glasgow District to do for you? Did you know, for example, that a lot of the food you eat comes through markets run by the District Council? In order for Glasgow District Council to carry out the functions of a local authority, it needs money. But because the government are cutting back their support year by year, it's putting more burden onto your rates in order to maintain the high standards you, as ratepayers, expect from the services the Council provides. The complex financial affairs of the District Council are managed by its Finance Department, which allocates finance where appropriate, according to the individual department's running costs and additional expenditure. So life without rates would not be rosy. Wouldn't you rather live in a city like this? With essential services that are so efficient and organized, you'd only notice if they weren't there? A council which considers and caters for your entertainment and leisure? The government are pursuing policies quite different from those which the council believe will help the people of Glasgow. Unless we now take steps to overcome the cutbacks which the government are determined to make, local democracy will be eroded to the point where your council cannot properly administer the wishes of the people who elected them.
You chose your district council. You elected the people you thought would serve your interests at local level best. You've seen some of the amenities that they provide, and the money has got to come from somewhere. There's really no alternative. So make sure that you get the best out of your city. The services of the Glasgow District Council are at your disposal.